So we're just heading back from dropping off the motor at the performance shop to get that cam installed. And one thing I wanted to talk about is the mileage. Mileage on the truck currently is 57,975. The motor we just bought that we're putting the camshaft in has 58,171. So there's less than 200 miles difference currently between what's on the truck and the motor that we just got. And we're trying to work it out to get that even closer.
So we did it right on the dot. How many miles are on the donor motor?
And here we are outside the shop.
There's the crane. It's all set.
Got a half a tank of 92 octane ready to go for the new motor.
Making a mess, I see.
Yes. I could not find the petcock. I thought for certain they would have one. The Buicks had them. Not this one. So pulled the lower hose off and look out!
Were you able to recover any of it, or just it's all gone?
Forget about it.
Figures.
You'll want new anyway.
Yeah.
And then most of the harness is off of there. There's still one that I do not know what it would be. For me, my theory is that it's likely an oil sending unit, but I cannot trace it back far enough yet. But the majority of the harness is off the top and the bottom. What's hilarious about using the stool to work on the vehicle, and then you got this thing stabbing you every time you lean over.
I thought you liked being stabbed, though.
Not there.
That's what you told me last night, at least.
With the injectors and everything else. But it rides in front of the motor, and that's what this, there's a black plastic piece here. This one. And that goes in front, and then these go to sensors around the back
big
part of it.
Okay. All right, so we got the fans out, it looks like, right?
Yep, the cooling fans are out, and then the AC compressor is next, and that is unbolted from the block, but I'm trying to figure out a way to loosen it so I can get the belt off, and I haven't figured that out yet.
How was your Dairy Queen?
Excellent.
Did you make sure to get a Blizzard?
Yes.
Okay, good.
These quick connect things that they have for the oil cooler on this side, and then the other side is transmission oil cooler. It's just a simple clip that holds it on, but they will fly. So you got to be careful when you're prying it out. Better make sure you know where it's going to go. The other wiring is out of the way now too, so not too much more after the power steering. Then we'll go for the mechanicals once we have this one out, and then it'll be side by side with the other motor. Then we'll just make certain that everything is the same. Then I'll have connectors that I won't know what to plug into because there will be two that are deleted. So there you go.
Since we're doing a 2600 stall torque converter with this motor swap, we also got this tru-cool 40K tranny cooler. This has the thermal bypass with it, which is good since we have colder weather here in Minnesota. That way we're not overcooling it during the colder months, but you still get the cooling you need during like the summer. This will be a good addition with our conversion here. I highly recommend it so you don't kill your tranny. So this is the end of day one of work on the truck. So hopefully not too much longer. We'll have an empty engine bay to work with. So we're on day number 3 here, and what have you done with your life thus far? I mean, what have you accomplished?
Well, we're really close to being able to get the motor away from the transmission. The cooling fans, we got those out of the way. The transmission dipstick is bolted to the back of the motor, so we had to take that off. The oil dipstick had to come out as well. The bolts to the motor to the transmission have to come out, and we are 6 bolts so far and we'll have a couple more and then we'll be good. Got to take out the torque converter bolts as well. Where the starter was on the transmission there, that's how we're going to access the torque converter bolts. Then the motor mounts. The motor mounts, we're going to take the bolts off at the frame rather than on the block. It's very difficult to access the ones on the block. And once we get the motor out, then we'll be able to put these mounts onto the 6.2. And that'll make it a lot easier. Then drop it onto the frame. Everything else seems to be disconnected. There's one mystery wire. Still haven't found it yet, but I got the wheel tub off the other side, so I got way more inspection area. And hopefully we'll find out what the hell that is instead of pulling it out and there's it stretching. The way I did this too is that so I don't get all confused as it is bagged everything to whatever components are taken off.
It's so fancy. You
Isn't
use
it?
labels.
And
I'm so proud of you.
yes.
And so would your first grade teacher.
Yes. But what would be more organizational is like if these were numbered in sequence. So when I go to reassemble, which always takes fucking longer, because let's say that there's 4 things that you have to do. And you should do it 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, you can do number 2. That's easy to get at and whatever. No, because 4 and 3 must be done first. You know, like
So you're saying do it in exact reverse order as when you disassembled.
exactly the exact reverse order. And if these were numbered in that sequence, then that would have made it a lot easier for the assembly. But we have a few things that are different on the 6.2, so we may have to wing it on a couple of things. Then we have it jacked up, of course, in order to access the easier, but
I'm looking down under here and I can see with the tubs out how much more access you have. You can see way in there.
in order to make the crane work on this tight of an area, we're gonna have to put the wheels back on the truck and roll it out some, and then that way we'll have easy access with the crane.
Yeah, because up here there's plenty of room to work, but not access for a crane.
Right. That'll be the plan then, to continue getting the rest of the bolts out, and then we will put the wheels back on, roll the truck back, and see about getting the engine out. So that's where we're at.
All right, so now we're at the step where we are disconnecting the flex plate from the torque converter. And so these bolts are actually Loctited in position here. So they require, incidentally enough, quite a bit of torque in order to remove. And it's in an extremely tight spot because we're up against the block and there's only a very, very minuscule amount of positions that we can move this in. And we do that by clocking the crank bolt either clockwise or counterclockwise, and right now it's in what we discovered is probably the optimal position. We were able to get an open-end wrench on there, but it's just not long enough in order to apply the torque we need. But we could not get a breaker bar in there because of the tight tolerances. So you must use some sort of an extension in order to gain access. And this is what we came up with. Now this is a 15 millimeter short socket with a short extension on it to a breaker bar, which easily goes in there. I'm bottomed out right now, but that doesn't really matter for the purposes of this video. What ends up happening is you torque down on it. Because of the extension, you get a lot of flex. And it likes to flex downward against this little point on the motor. And if I actually torqued on it like that, the likelihood of me rounding off that bolt is extremely high. So I found a piece of wood and wedged it under there and used that to support our fulcrum for you highly technical people. And that prevents it from dropping down and twisting, so I can apply the full amount of torque or pressure on this breaker bar and this bolt will easily come out. So it took us a little bit of trial and error to figure out the optimal configuration, but after we did that, this second bolt came out within minutes. It took us like nearly a half an hour to figure out the first one. So that will save time for anybody else who's trying this in the future. All right, so now in order to finish removing this bolt, I'm gonna take a deep well 15 millimeter, same extension, and just a regular ratchet, put it all together. And I actually leave this wedge in here because it helps to support right here. And we'll ratchet that out in a few short seconds. And you can see, as long as Jack is holding the camera steady, you got that, Jack?
I think so.
But, see, I lost the bolt there. But I don't need the extreme amount of torque when we initially break that bolt loose. And now it should be finger accessible, and we'll just twist it the rest of the way out. And there you have it. Redneck alert. We had nothing lying around to get this secured properly in as low of a position as we got it right now. So it's on the jack right now on this side. That's what's supporting it. We needed to at least get one side low enough so we could get it to an appropriate height to access it with the crane. This side is safe because we got the jack stand over here, but it is much lower than what we had it. And so hoping that it's just enough, jack this motor up high enough to get it over this radiator support, because if we can't do it that way, it's going to be a whole hell of a lot more effort just to pull it straight out the front, and we're going to try and avoid that if at all possible. So we are essentially ready to attach the chain to the motor, and then prep for jacking that out of there, and then undoing the motor mounts. So this is officially the halfway point. We've rolled the truck forward so that we can essentially park it for the night. And the heart of the beast is completely gone. So we were able to successfully remove this motor, and as soon as they are done going through and replacing the internals, primarily the camshaft, and the VVT delete of the 6.2 that's going in here, we'll be able to install that. Until then, there's really nothing more we can do to prepare for that. So, feels good, man.
It does. It's an excellent thing. One of the most that I've dealt with, as far as how good it goes. So it went really well.
I guess that's what you get for some precision GM engineering, huh?
Yes.
It was solidly built. I mean, that transmission did not want to come off of that motor. And here it is hanging right here.
Due to corrosion on those dowels, alignment dowels.
That what it was?
I think so, because the one that's on the driver's side is pretty corroded.
Yeah, you can see like the corrosion and rust and all that there. And I bet you the tolerances on those are pretty damn tight, so just anything extra is just gonna completely ruin your day in terms of pulling a motor off of it. Anyhow, that's where we're gonna call it for the day. We can just leave this hanging for now. Eventually we'll put it on the engine stand, but we couldn't find bolts that would work with this motor. So we'll get some. But the problem was the transmission mounting bolts were just too damn short. All right, well, next step, we'll be showing off how the install goes.